This shit is a mystery. I would like to get paid. I would love to get paid for this video.
Let's get to
I already took enough copyrights as it is behind WWE. What's good with y'all? Welcome back to the channel, man. Today we got 12 WWE rematches that were better than the original classic. If y'all want to see more videos like this, or before the video even starts, give me a thumbs up, some likes, so we can trend up in the algorithm. You just clapped in my ear. Let's get straight to it.
You know, little thing that
I don't like black people.
12 WWE rematches that were actually better than the original.
Cena
match for the Undisputed Championship,
Wait.
Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar had an underrated feud. The most memorable thing about their WrestleMania 19 encounter is Lesnar's botched shooting star press. But even with that blunder, it was still an excellent main event. The SummerSlam bout is often ignored as well, even though it's another strong match between the two wrestlers. And the smartest thing WWE did was turn Lesnar heel. His babyface turn was rushed, and though fans weren't hesitant to cheer the former WWE champion, they felt like WWE cut the legs of Lesnar's heel run for no good reason. However, what makes this match incredible was that Lesnar wasn't playing the unstoppable heel that ran roughshod in his 2002 run. Lesnar's story with Kurt Angle was laid out perfectly throughout this 60-minute match. The future WWE Hall of Famer couldn't particularly out-wrestle the Olympic gold medalist, but he did outsmart the Hall of Famer. It's not an easy feat to book a 60-minute Iron Man match, but Kurt and Brock made it look easy. The first 30 minutes were perfect. Lesnar dominated that portion, and the bout never slowed down. The last 30 minutes had some head-scratching moments, like Kurt not opting to take the count out to tie the match, or his lack of urgency in the first few seconds, but it didn't hinder it in an incredible match. This is one of the best SmackDown main events in company history.
Yeah, it was a good match.
TLC 2.
Yeah,
How to top a match that was already a classic? Well, tables, spears, and Rhino, baby.
Yes.
TLC 2 is equivalent to John Wick 2. It's bigger, grander,
and arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time.
Yep.
This came out the year I was born. Well, WrestleMania happened the year I was born. I said it like it was an album or something. But WrestleMania 17 happened the year I was born, and religiously every year I watch the whole, like, from top to bottom. This feels like the most complete show ever, bro.
To me, it's always been 17 and 24 was like behind it.
Yeah, 24 is my actual favorite of all time. But this right here is crazy.
To me, this has got to be the best, hands down.
With more memorable stunts. The match was an unforgettable action-packed thriller from bell to bell. And of course, we all have that awesome spear off the top of the ladder etched into our brains.
Yeah, we do,
There are so many fun spots in this match that it's too many to list. For the most part, it wasn't about the story. This was about spectacle, and there's nothing wrong with watching a car crash live. It's been over 20 years since this legendary match, and ladder matches in general have become crazier and bolder in terms of spots. However, the classic TLC matches helped pave the way for these types of matches today. TLC 2 was a roadmap to expertly craft a chaotic match of this nature without being overly complicated or simply relying on spots.
That right there alone.
This trilogy of matches also gave a spotlight to the tag team division, though it helps that you had 3 charismatic duos fighting for these prestigious belts. The trilogy of TLC matches was just more than about putting on a stunt show. It highlighted the greatness of tag team wrestling and set a benchmark for TLC matches that have yet to be surpassed. The WWE Women's Championship match of Alita versus Trish Stratus, Unforgiven 2006. Alita and Trish's first match was an Indian strap match where the former 7-time Women's Champion was squashed. It's amazing to look back at their careers and see how much they've grown as performers. Their final match was perfect. Both women were extremely experienced performers who had strong characters at this time. Lita was the dastardly heel you'd love to hate. Trish was a valiant babyface looking to settle the score once and for all. Lita and Trish will always go down as one of the best rivalries in the women's division. Their main event match on Raw was a defining step for women's wrestling. Their final match added to the legacy of their respective careers. This was an excellent wrestling match with an unexpectedly strong finish. The landscape of women's wrestling has changed so much since 2006, and Trish and Lita are just some of the pioneers who helped revolutionize the business.
They did.
Number 4, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 33. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20 should have been the ultimate clash of the titans. Instead, the bout was laid out to make Lesnar and Goldberg look bad on their way out. Over 20 years later, these two shocked the world by putting on a fun banger that ended surprisingly. The reason for the second and third Goldberg and Brock Lesnar matches work so well because it focuses on the strength of both men. As we know, Goldberg is known for his explosive and short matches. His brief run in 2003 isn't fondly remembered because he just wasn't a great wrestler. Goldberg isn't a guy that you put in long matches, so Vince was smart to keep his bouts against Lesnar short, sweet, and to the point. Goldberg vs Lesnar at WrestleMania 33 stood out because it represented a different style from every other match on the card. Plus, it was genuinely a fun match that focused on big move after big move until the final 1, 2, 3 was counted. A huge redemption match for two men who were treated like shit on their way out.
I ain't gonna cap, like that's crazy. It was surprisingly, I like going into it, I was like, do I really want to see Brock and Goldberg? Like the Survivor Series was crazy, but then I was like, but they did it again at Mania. It was actually
I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good.
Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Now, the first ever Hell in a Cell match remains a classic. Sometimes it gets lost in the craziness of Mankind versus Taker, but Shawn Michaels versus Taker was a perfect example of how to get over a new gimmick. It's on their very first encounter.
That picture alone just should let you know how that night went.
But it was always going to be hard for them to outperform such a legendary match. And yet, Taker and Michaels did it with ease. No one thought that Michaels was going to be the man ending Taker's streak, but this guy is dubbed Mr. WrestleMania, so the former WWE champion found a way to make you believe that he could pull it off. Both Taker and Michaels are masters of storytelling, and this classic match began a string of remarkable matches in the years following WrestleMania 25. Michaels and Taker at WrestleMania 26 had more emotion based on the streak versus career stipulation, but the layout of the WrestleMania 25 bout was a bit stronger than the rematch. An unforgettable classic that celebrates the sport of professional wrestling. Number 6,
the greatest WrestleMania match
Triple H and
of all
The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. Triple H and The Undertaker can be hit and miss. While all three of their WrestleMania matches are gems, some of their bouts...
They didn't always have great matches, though. I know this your man, so you felt a little, you know what I'm saying? I be feeling disrespected when people say stuff about Jeff, but they matches weren't always that good, bro. Let's just give him a chance to speak his piece, because as wrestling fans, we know that to be true. Triple H and Undertaker matches, all of them weren't golden, especially that when they had a Saudi, that DX and all that. Yeah, so let's not even go there.
So the big event are kind of boring. And the Hell in a Cell stipulation in the PG era, and there were so many ways that this could have turned out to be terrible. But Triple H and Taker went on to have the best Hell in a Cell match of the PG era. The story going in was incredible. This was about more than ending their streak. It was about defining which man was the best of an era that's fondly remembered. And in Shawn Michaels, whose allegiance to Triple H was questioned since his DX buddy called him weak, and this match is simply perfect. Again, most people didn't buy that Triple H would end the streak once and for all. However, the drama within the match changed that perception really quick. The surprise sweet chin music from Shawn Michaels leading into a pedigree led to one of the best near falls ever done in WWE. This is a case where the story fully carried the match, but the work rate of these two was still at a very top level. A tremendous match that should have been the true send-off to the Triple H Undertaker feud. Number 7, John Cena vs Shawn Michaels on Raw, April 23rd, 2007.
Yeah.
And here's a controversial take.
I said it
John Cena is a great wrestler.
He is.
I'm sure we can see him calling spots in the ring sometimes, and sure his character was incredibly stale during the Super Cena days, but there are too many classics with Mr. Hustle loyalty and respect to just ignore how good he really is.
Yeah.
And we stated this in the Brock Kurt match. It's not easy to wrestle for an
Can we stop the Cena? Like, Cena has bangers, bruh. Like, can we stop the Cena slander? Like, I guess when he was doing a lot during the Super Cena era, I could see everybody getting fed up. Like, even looking back at it now, because I was a little bit younger during the Super Cena era, I would not have liked Cena.
He has some of the best matches in WWE history.
He has
let's not act like he can't wrestle.
However, the difference in that bout was the 15-second breaks that competitors received. In this match, it was simply 1-4, so there were no breaks whatsoever. That made Cena's performance more impressive. This wasn't about titles, this was about pride. The first portion of the match saw the former WWE champion out-wrestle the Heartbreak Kid, and actually helped to explain why the match was so slow-paced in the early goings. But nobody out-wrestles Mr. WrestleMania, and the belt kicked into third gear once Michaels escaped the STFU. This deviated from the usual John Cena formula and allowed both men to shine from a
that right there was crazy.
But then again, a broom can have a classic match with Shawn Michaels, so these two having a very entertaining 60-minute match isn't too surprising.
Low key, sometimes I wish I would have got a chance to hold that spitter belt one time. But it won't the right time to do it, because he ain't need it.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, Shawn Michaels already made man. He actually had a chance to win the world title in that feud later with Chris Jericho in the PG era, but he opted not to win it.
It's now Extreme Rules 2012.
He didn't need it, so no point.
When fans think about John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, everyone instantly goes back to their SummerSlam 2013 shocker. The match was great, but we have never seen Cena in such a vulnerable and weak position. However, it pales in comparison to Brock's first match back in WWE. So does their first encounter at Backlash 2003. John Cena was still learning the ropes around that time. It was an okay match, but it was a bit clunky and awkward at times, highlighting the inexperience of Cena. The match at Extreme Rules 2012 was a culmination of how both men had changed. Brock Lesnar switching to an MMA-based style had made his matches feel different. They felt like a fight, and his return to the company was easily the best part of 2012. It was an extremely physical and surprisingly violent match. Given that this was the PG era, seeing this level of blood made it a true gem. And the only problem with this match was the odd decision to put Cena over. Luckily it didn't kill Brock's aura, but it was still a stupid mistake that took some momentum out of Brock's huge return. Number 9, CM Punk vs. The Undertaker, WrestleMania 33. Vince McMahon loves the Montreal Screwjob. The company has replicated that moment on several occasions, including Taker and Punk's submission match at Breaking Point 2009. This year was the summer of Punk. The straight-edge star was off to a hot feud with Jeff Hardy and was coming into his own as the top champion. However, WWE made the mistake of replaying the greatest hits onto The Undertaker, which made the feud feel disjointed and cold. Still, this was The Undertaker and CM Punk, so the two should have had a great match. What actually happened was that Punk was treated as a joke that easily tapped out in less than 15 minutes. All the hard work the company did to build him up was killed at Breaking Point in 2009.
Classic Vince.
CM Punk was a star in 2013, and it was the right time for these to fight one more time. Punk and Taker had the best match at WrestleMania 33. Again, no one bought into the idea that he was going to end the streak, but the purpose of Taker during this period was to watch him have excellent matches. Punk kicking out of the tombstone was an incredible moment. Wrestlers rarely kick out of that finisher, so to see Punk do it had you guessing whether the streak would finally end. That was the brilliance of Taker's matches. He knew that audiences wouldn't believe that his streak was ending, so the matches were typically laid out to cause some doubts among the fans. The only flaw with this feud was using the ashes of Paul Bearer. It was a distasteful and unnecessary prop between two men who knew how to build a rivalry without such nonsense. Number 10, The Rock vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 19. Now, people say that Vince McMahon is Stone Cold's greatest rival, but that argument could be made for The Rock instead. Austin faced off against 3 generations of The Rock, that being the Nation of Domination Rock, People's Champion Rock, and Hollywood Rock, and you saw the level of growth throughout each of their encounters. It's a shame that this match wasn't billed as something bigger than it should have been. The finale between the two of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era went out with a bang. Several fun callbacks from their previous matches made this feel even more special. This was technically an end of an era match. Rock vs. Austin Part 1 was when these two were still rising in the company. Austin vs. Rock Part 2 was the peak of the latter and this full induction into the main event. Rock vs. Austin Part 3 saw the shocking heel turn of Stone Cold, which did hamper the match once Vince screwed over The Rock. Rock vs. Austin Part 4 was about defining what the Attitude Era was. These two were the benchmark for WWE's most celebrated period, and it was a sort of a goodbye match featuring the stars of yesteryear. An incredible match that often gets overshadowed. Number 11, ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels.
That match was amazing.
Somehow people forget that Michaels and Jericho fought at WrestleMania 19.
That was a great match too.
How stacked the card was when Jericho's best WrestleMania match is barely mentioned. These two didn't officially feud until 2008, and it's one of the best rivalries of this generation. It was a well-crafted story that brought redemption to Chris Jericho's lackluster run in 2007, and it only further added to the list of great rivalries throughout Shawn Michaels' legendary career. Michaels had a strong match at WrestleMania 19, but the No Mercy ladder match comes after months of compelling storytelling. Jericho was the ruthless heel, Michaels was the babyface dead set on finishing off the former champion once and for all. The ladder match was more on a technical side with a couple of great ladder spots sprinkled in. In fact, the biggest spot was a backdrop into a crossbody through an announce table. It just goes to show that you didn't need to do crazy stunts in order for this type of match to be great. The ending is one of the best ladder match finishes ever. Michaels was on the cusp of overcoming the odds and finally beating the evil Chris Jericho. But the former Y2J won the game of tug of war, capping off a tremendous feud that will be remembered for years to come. And number 12, Sami Zayn vs. Kevin Owens at Battleground 2016.
That's the match he opted out on winning.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is a rivalry that spans back to their black and gold days of NXT. When the former
I'm not going to keep positive, but can we just get a hand clap for NXT black and gold, man? Literally, these are the guys that are along with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns that are carrying WWE.
Champion turned his back on his best friend following his NXT title win. Some even say that this feud goes back to the early 2000s during their time in Ring of Honor. Legend has it that Sami Zayn was the man under the El Generico mask, but unfortunately we'll never get the truth because El Generico strangely disappeared in 2000.
You know what it is, right?
We already he wear the same boots that he used to wear back then.
We know that. It's content, bro. Relax, young bull. It's content, bro. We know exactly why he said that.
Nevertheless, the battles between former best friends usually brings out the best in both competitors, and this was no different here. Whether they're a tag team or bitter rivals, Zayn and Owens have excellent chemistry every time they step into the ring. Zayn has a Daniel Bryan-like quality that makes him feel relatable and likable, and it always helps when Owens is such an easy heel to hate. The emotion of the two former best friends battling on stage was felt throughout the match, and the climax of Zayn hitting the haluva kick, catching Owens as he was falling, and connecting with a statement haluva kick was brilliant. It was a shame that WWE didn't capitalize off Sami's momentum after this hot feud, but the rivalry opened the eyes of fans who had no clue who the former NXT champion was when he arrived onto the main roster.
Well, shout out WrestleLamia, man. I'm not gonna keep y'all too long. Y'all know I like to keep my videos short and sweet and straight to the point. But watch out. Did y'all like this video? If y'all want us to do more videos like this, make sure you tell me down below in the comments, man. A lot of things that I saw with, especially the clashes that happened in the last 10 or so years, is that Vince lost his touch and he didn't know how to capitalize on wins. Oh yeah, sometimes. So hey, y'all let me know how y'all feel. Like and subscribe if y'all new. Leave a comment too. We go see y'all guys again. Poppin' tags, YSL. I would like to get